What's going on, guys? Jack here today discussing Dennis Smith Jr. with a little bit of a different style of video, a roundtable discussion. I'm sitting here with John and Jeremy and Alex, and we're going to be discussing Dennis Smith as he moves into the NBA draft. So Alex, get started a little bit on this conversation.
All right, guys. So some questions I have for all of you about Dennis Smith. What about his offense stands out to you since his return from his torn ACL?
Right, so for me it's been that his explosion has been there. That was one thing I guess you'd have a concern with, but it's definitely been there. The athleticism, the explosion, the ability to get to the basket and finish through contact, but also finish strong has definitely been noticeable for me with Dennis Smith's ability.
So John here, guys, and what I think I've seen, which has been a big improvement for Dennis Smith, is just that he looks a lot more comfortable rather than from the beginning of the year. He's not forcing so many shots now. He's shooting a lot better. He's dishing the ball a lot better. And I think going forward for an NBA team, I think that he'll do just fine as a backup point guard to come off the bench starting off.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jeremy here. And one thing that really stood out to me is that the first game of the year for him was his first college game in addition to coming back from injury. So, like John said, now that he's comfortable, he's actually passing the ball, running the point, and he's looking to be a dominant point guard going into ACC play and then eventually the NBA draft.
All right. Is he a player any of you guys can see an NBA team building around, or is he a piece that an NBA team that a star would be being built around?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, he's definitely someone who is going to be a piece of the puzzle, but he's not going to be a cornerstone player. Could he's shown flashes maybe of being a cornerstone guy, but I think so far, from what we've seen from him, I don't think that potential has been reached just yet.
I think that Dennis, I'm going to disagree with you to an extent here and say that I think Dennis Smith on his own could be a very good player. And if he's the best player on your team, I think that team could eventually be a playoff team. But do I think that's a team that's going to make it to the Western Conference or Eastern Conference Finals? No. I think that he probably needs someone either as good as him or someone maybe slightly better than him. But just going back a little bit and talking about his adjustment period, I think the fact that he enrolled at NC State midway through his senior year and got that semester in at NC State really helped his adjustment period and definitely helped. As John was saying, he looks more comfortable on the court, and I think it's definitely been showing in recent weeks where his assist numbers and his shooting numbers have also increased.
So will he be a starter or an all-star, do you guys think?
I don't think initially. I think he's more or less going to be someone to come off the bench, possibly if he's on a better team behind someone like Kyrie or obviously like Lillard. Like he has someone to follow, but I'd say for years to come, he's definitely going to be one of the better rookies to.
Now, realistically, he's not going to get drafted though by a team.
Obviously,
like the Cavs.
Well, that's assuming that he would go. We don't know how he's going to go yet. Like if
True.
We have so many people in the.
It's a very
NCAA.
deep draft class this year, but I would say that someone like Dennis Smith is probably going to go in the lottery.
Of course.
Probably, yeah.
And so I would say that there are a few teams because at the same time, Dennis Smith is a very intriguing point guard prospect, but there's also, as we're going to get into a little bit here, very good other alternatives at the point guard spot with Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, whatever. We'll get into a few of them later. But there also aren't as many needy NBA point guard or teams that need point guards in the NBA. There's a lot of talented point guards.
There's a lot of talented point guards, yeah.
And so the question is for Dennis Smith, is there going to be a team that it almost might be a blessing for him in the sense that he's going to go to a team that probably will have a point guard already in place. And so as you guys have been saying, he'll get to come off the bench at least initially. But do I think he could handle maybe starting for a team like, I don't know, the Sixers or the Pelicans or the Nets? Yeah, I mean, the Nets aren't going to have a pick, rather, but could he start early on as a youngster? Yes, but I think it would be better if he came off the bench for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know if we want to talk about team fit right this second, but I think a team that maybe could use him is maybe the Detroit Pistons. And I know they just gave Reggie Jackson a monster deal, but I think he would be great for them coming off the bench, a really solid second option with Drummond there. And, Reggie Jackson going to be one of the primary scoring options still, but I don't really believe in him long term, and I think Dennis Smith could be groomed into being that long term player next to Andre Drummond to make them, a playoff team for years to come.
So, John, do you think it's more important for him to go somewhere that he'll get more minutes and more exposure on the court, or it'll be better for him to, come off the bench to a star that he can learn from? Because, this one and done deal, he's not going to have much time on the court in the NCAA. He's going straight to the NBA.
Yeah, I think it'll be better if he comes off the bench and he learns a little bit more, and he doesn't have to be the star player. He can be, the secondary or even tertiary player there.
Right, and so a couple more teams I may add, I guess, since we did start to get into team fit, would maybe be the Sacramento Kings, although I wouldn't want to go to that quagmire of a situation and be involved there, but it could be a good fit for him, just seeing that they're in need of a point guard. And then also, if you look at a team like Orlando, who could definitely use the scoring punch, and I think that's something that let's talk about here a little bit with Dennis Smith, is that does he do enough besides scoring? Because with Orlando, they need scoring, and so I think he could be a very good fit there. But in terms of him as an overall player, does he do enough besides score the ball?
Well, yeah, like he's done recently. Like he came straight off the first few games scoring a bunch, and then he'd have a few games that he didn't do as well. But now he's actually learning to score and pass the ball. Like kind of like obviously you can't compare him to Westbrook, but he's putting up high mid-20s points, and he's getting out almost 10 assists. So if he can create offense while getting offense himself, then it's a good fit.
Yeah, I think Orlando is also an interesting team to talk about as a fit for him because, I'm a believer in Alfred Payton, and I think he could be potentially their point guard of the future there. And they drafted Mario Hezonja. But, I don't know if Dennis Smith really would work there. I don't know if maybe they'd want to bring Payton then off the bench and start Dennis Smith. But then you would have two offensive-heavy point guards.
Payton is definitely more of a defensive guard. And so, they have Fournier out there. And so it could definitely make sense in terms of him starting off on the bench. But Dennis Smith really, if you look at him as a player, he has a lot of potential. And as Jeremy is just saying, he's been developing the passing elements of his game. And I've seen him make several nice passes over the last couple of weeks. It's going to be important that his development continues into the ACC portion of play here as the competition definitely gets more difficult. But I think in terms of Dennis Smith as a player, he's dynamite scorer, but the other aspects of his game, and we haven't even really discussed the defensive aspects of his game so far, which definitely there are some question marks. Whether he can cover, one-on-one and cover the opposition's point guard, whether he needs to be kind of hidden on that end of the court on a shooter or not. But Dennis Smith's scoring ability is going to, get him drafted in the lottery and make him a productive NBA player. It's just a question of how high up in his potential can he reach with the other facets of his game developing. But guys, that's what we think about Dennis Smith. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think, and please remember to subscribe if you want to hear more videos like this one. Thanks for listening.